One snowy night, 5 friends from Yuba City, California were on their way home from Chico after watching a college basketball game. All 5 of them had mild intellectual disabilities or psychiatric conditions and were amateur players themselves, with a crucial game scheduled for the next day. The 5 of them stopped at Bears Market, just a few streets from the stadium, in good spirits. But that was the last time anyone saw them alive. They would never make it to their own game, and nobody would ever fully understand what happened to the Yuba County 5. Welcome to History Unfolded. Gary Mathias, Jack Madruga, Ted Weiher, Bill Sterling, and Jack Huett were heading back to Yuba City from Chico. For most people making that journey, that trip is a straight shot along Highway 99 south. But for some reason, these 5 friends ended up driving east along a winding mountain road that was nowhere near the direction they were looking to go. It wasn't a road you could accidentally stumble onto. The driver, Jack Madruga, would have had to make very deliberate decisions to take his prize 1969 Mercury Montego up that mountain. But Jack was the most capable of his group. Thanks to his history as a Vietnam veteran, he knew the area and kept maps in his glove compartment, yet somehow the car he was driving ended up 70 miles from where it was supposed to be. The Mercury climbed higher into the Sierra Nevada mountains, up twisting roads, until eventually, at around 4,400 feet elevation, in about 5 or 6 inches of snow, the car stopped. But here's the thing. The car had no reason to stop. When detectives found the Mercury days later, the engine worked fine. It had gas, the wheels could turn freely. 5 grown men could have easily pushed it out of the shallow snow with no problem whatsoever. But instead, they'd left it there with the driver's window rolled down and all of the doors unlocked. The keys were gone, but the basketball programs from the game and the snacks they'd bought afterwards were still inside, some of them untouched. It raised so many questions. Why would 5 men abandon a working vehicle in the snowy mountains at night, dressed only in light outfits suitable for watching a game in the city? Why head uphill into deeper snow instead of walking back down the mountain towards civilization? In a typical investigation, a witness might hold the answers. Joseph Shantz happened to be driving up that same mountain road on February 24th to check the snow conditions at his cabin, but his car legitimately got stuck in the snow, and between the strain of trying to push it out and the sheer panic of the situation, he suffered a heart attack. While lying in pain, Joseph claimed that he saw headlights approach from behind, describing the vehicle as a Mercury coupe. According to him, people got out of the Mercury and climbed into a second vehicle, possibly a pickup truck, then drove away. At no point did they try to help him. But Joseph's story changed. Often. First he said he saw 5 or 6 people and a woman holding a baby. Then it was 6 or 7 figures in the woods. Sometimes he heard screaming, other times strange whistling sounds. He'd call out for help, but the people would go silent and turn off their flashlights. Later, he wasn't even sure there had been a second vehicle at all. At first, this unreliable witness was all the authorities had to go off. But finally, another witness came forward, claiming she saw the 5 men in a red pickup truck the next afternoon in Brownsville, about an hour from where the car was found. However, she only spoke up after a reward was offered, and her story never quite aligned with the timeline. The investigators couldn't rely on these inconsistent stories, so they turned to the scene. Search teams scoured the area on foot, horseback, with dogs and helicopters, everything they could to get some answers. But in a brutal twist of fate, the night they found the car, a blizzard hit, covering any potential tracks that would have guided them. As weeks passed and the snows got worse and worse, the ground search was eventually called off, forcing the families to wade through a brutal winter, not knowing if their sons were alive somewhere or lying frozen under the snow. It took 4 months before things thawed. On June 4, 1978, a group of motorcyclists was riding trails in the Plumas National Forest when they noticed an abandoned Forest Service trailer. 16-year-old Roger Koch decided to investigate. When he opened the door and looked inside, he found Ted Weiher's body lying on a bed wrapped tightly in 8 sheets pulled up to his chin, his feet frozen solid and suffering from gangrene. Based on his beard growth, investigators estimated he'd been alive for 8 to 13 weeks after the group disappeared. Cause of death? Starvation. Yet, the trailer was stocked with enough food to keep 5 men alive for a year. There were propane tanks for heat, matches, blankets, extra clothing, everything they would have needed to wait it out until help came along. Outside the trailer was a storage shed filled with sea rations, military meals that Ted apparently knew how to open. Empty sea ration cans were scattered around the trailer, suggesting that he'd eaten some of the food, but nowhere near enough to survive. It's like he wanted to die. But investigators were about to discover something that made it even more inexplicable. They found Gary Mathias' shoes. Gary was the one member of the group without an intellectual disability, though he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia. Now, it was clear he had apparently been there with Ted, opening the food rations that had been consumed. Over the next few days, searchers found the remains of the other 3 friends. Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling were discovered about 11 miles from the abandoned car, their bodies partially eaten by animals. Jack Huett's remains were found under a bush near the Daniel Zinc campground, close to where Ted died. All of them had died from exposure and hypothermia. But they didn't all die at the same time. From the admittedly limited evidence found, it appears that some of them made it to the trailer with Ted and then left again. In fact, the general conclusion is that they took care of Ted. Someone had wrapped him in those sheets because his gangrenous feet were too damaged for him to do it himself. But then they all abandoned him for reasons we'll never know. 4 of the bodies had been found. Gary Mathias was still missing. Now, with all of this physical evidence, you can assemble a narrative of some kind, but it's a story that makes no sense. Why did 5 men, one of whom knew the area, drive 70 miles in the wrong direction on mountain roads they had no reason to travel? Why abandon a working car for a deadly hike in street clothes? Why didn't Ted eat the food in that trailer? How did he survive for months while starving to death? There are dozens of theories, but for some, it's likely that the friends had encountered someone that night. Someone who made them drive in the wrong direction, who made them run from their car into the wilderness. After all, the red pickup was mentioned by 2 different people who had no connection to one another. They were unreliable witnesses, of course, but that is an odd coincidence. Was someone following them, chasing them? Were they kidnapped? Then there's the mystery of Gary Mathias. He was the most capable of the group, but the investigation later discovered he left his schizophrenia medication at home that night. His army training would have made him the most likely to survive in the wilderness. Did he try to save his friends and die somewhere far away so that his body could never be found? Did he make it out and disappear for reasons no one understands? Was he responsible for all of this? The case officially remains unsolved to this day. The Yuba County Sheriff's Department still takes tips, hoping to unravel the mystery. But 47 years later, families are still waiting for answers that may never come. The case feels just as inexplicable as it did when that Mercury Montego was first found abandoned in the snow. Thank you for watching. If you have any theories or ideas about what happened to these guys, feel free to drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until then, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you for the next unsolved mystery on History Unfolded.